After my awesome flight experience with Singapore Airlines, I finally reached my destination, Thailand. And one of my biggest agenda, to visit a retired 747 turned cafe and restaurant called, 747 Cafe. Now how to get here, what's there to see, and what's fun to do, you'll find details right here, in Airline Travel and Airports. So I'm taking the BTS SkyTrain to Lat Krabang station, just one stop before reaching Suvarnabhumi Airport. From there, I took a cab costing about 80 bahts to get to one of Thailand's tourist attractions. This is the 747 Cafe, a retired 747-400 aircraft now turned bistro that aviation fans would sure want to visit. And I'm not just talking about fans, vloggers included, of course. Standing at a distance and seeing the Queen of the Skies up close is already enough to make my jaw drop. The aircraft that once ruled the skies for decades is simply a spectacular sight to see that I can't wait to board and check what's inside. But first, let me savor this plane's exterior, as I don't get to enjoy standing in front of a huge aircraft every day. Stunning is just an understatement, that's one thing I can say, and drawing closer and closer to it makes me wonder how this massive and heavy structure can even actually take flight. This is where we check out the wings and the plane's engines, which has a lot to do with making this plane take off from the ground. Unfortunately, this is just what's left of it, but it's still enough to keep the excitement, especially when you get to reach its cowling to touch it. Believe it or not, I think I spent about half an hour simply just going around inspecting the exterior of this aircraft. Staying under the wing alone and scanning the 747 from tail all the way to the front will definitely leave you speechless. What more if this was an A380? Moving on, let me just check the landing gears and how it's structured to support this aircraft. The 747-400 has 18 enormous wheels that support the immense loads of this incredible flying machine. Just imagine the punishment these wheels go through whenever the 747 comes into landing. Do you know that the 747's wheels are tubeless and are filled with nitrogen instead of air? Anyhow, looking at the landing gear compartment remind me of stories about stowaways who've hid inside the wheel wells. Sad stories though, but it has happened a few times. Walking around this aircraft's underbelly, I noticed one engine that has stairs attached to it. You know what I'm thinking? But that I'll do later, as I'm still caught under the magic of it all. I'm sure when you find yourself here, you'll just be fascinated like me. Anyway, how to get here? The 747 Cafe is in the area of Lat Krabang, close to Suvarnabhumi International Airport. All you need to do is get to a train station nearest to where you're staying and connect to the BTS SkyTrain. That's the train line that goes to Suvarnabhumi Airport. Get off at Lat Krabang station and find a cab downstairs and just show them a screen capture of the address here. It's gonna cost about 80 bahts, and from there, you'll be enjoying this place before you know it. It's that easy. Best time to come here is during the weekdays at around 10 AM. That way you can get to explore this place with all peace and quiet and perhaps record videos the way I do while there aren't much people around. Anyhow, back to exploring this plane's underbelly. Never had I thought I'd be this close, at least stand underneath the 747 until I found myself here. It's pretty amazing to see areas of this plane that I've never seen before. And here's something not everyone can do. Climb up and explore what used to house this plane's engine. If you guys want to have stunning photos for your Facebook wallpaper, or perhaps have good snapshots for your Instagram, this is one of those extraordinary places to do it. Believe me, I had to fly back to Bangkok with a travel buddy to have some photo ops here, and it was still worth the visit. Now be careful not to hit your head on that pylon, you just need to duck a bit as you enter. I hope you're not afraid of heights though, and that you just have to be careful when you have your photos taken here, as there are no railings at the far end or safety nets. Now who would have thought I'd have the chance to tap these parts of the plane? And who would have thought one could get inside this engine's frame? And guess what? You can do all these things absolutely free. That is, until you decide to enter the cabin of the 747 Cafe. And that's what exactly I'm about to do later, as I'm still enjoying my time here. Being inside this engine is simply insane. My suggestion? Bring a friend along, so you can have your photos taken from different angles rather than just having selfies. And that's what I exactly did when I came back here the second time. Anyhow, so much for my quick stay inside the engine. It's about time I check out what's on board the 747 Cafe. With that said, one needs to pay an entrance fee of 120 bahts, where you're handed a voucher in the form of a boarding pass, which you can use later to exchange for pastries or cold drinks when you decide to settle down and just chill.
120. 120 baht. So they said it's consumable, so which means I can use the paper the ticket to consume. Oh, thank you. Boarding pass. Okay, we're on our way up.
And so, without further ado, I'm off to board the plane with my boarding pass on hand, climbing up these colorful flight of stairs and getting to see this flight information display that looks like the real thing, until you look at it closely and read some of its destinations. Now, in case you're asking, this 747 once belonged to Orient Thai, a budget airline that once flew the skies around Thailand. Now fixed into its new home, it also served its purpose as a hotspot for those who can't travel by plane just yet, but miss the feeling of air travel. Stepping inside this aircraft bistro got me a bit confused as to where to begin, whether it's this way or that way. That's how excited I am to cover every inch that I can of the 747's cabin. But it's this stunning design that got my attention, so it's this way first. Now talk about Instagrammable spots, and I tell you, they have more places for your photo ops inside the cafe. The main lounge somewhat reminds me of 1960s sci-fi movies, with the furniture design integrated to what resembles an interior of a spaceship. But what really got me interested is climbing up the stairs that lead to the upper deck. You all know where this leads to, and this is one of the reasons I just had to visit this place. Upstairs holds a more private lounge suitable for large groups visiting the cafe. But you can have this area all to yourself if you come here early and during the weekdays. It's also here where one of this cafe's highlights is located. See that area right up front? That's where we're going. With the upper deck all bare and without all those wall panels, I never thought this area on the 747 can be this spacious, which had me imagining things. What if you had a decommissioned 747 like this to yourself? Would you turn it into a house? Or would you turn it into a cafe just like this? Anyhow, the moment I've been waiting for. Finally, I get to see the 747's flight deck, and I have it all just to myself. This is another highlight of the 747 Cafe, where aviation fans can sit and pretend to be captain of this aircraft. What's also amazing about this is that most of the instruments are still intact, all from the yoke, to levers, to little things such as switches and knobs. And don't worry about toying around with the controls. Remember, this plane's engines have been removed. So no need to fear that this aircraft will move and suddenly fly. If there's one thing that would take flight, it's most likely your fantasy of being in command of the 747 for as long as you're sitting here at the cockpit. If I'm not mistaken, I think I spent about 20 minutes just sitting here, fiddling with all those buttons and switches, as well as taking selfies and doing a live stream. I'd say this is the most enjoyable part during my visit here. Moving on, I head downstairs to the lower level to check out what's to see before settling down for a nice cold drink. The main deck offers a dining area where, during this time, you can get to choose where you want to sit, as there's plenty of tables around. This is the advantage of going here on weekdays. I think I found a good spot somewhere, and like most of the tables here, it's right next to the window. Now there's this strange feeling as I walk along as I feel I have the entire 747 to myself. Never have I thought that it was this spacious without the actual airline seats. You can practically go around on a bicycle inside this place. Anyhow, off to check what they have at the bar. Sure, they serve coffee and a wide selection of drinks, but the sight of pastries got me excited. As I remember, I didn't have breakfast upon going here. So here's something to fill up my tummy for now, but I think I can hold out a bit more. Nearing the far end of the cabin, where what usually is the economy class section, offer more seats with one long center table. But I'm just curious how the back looks like, where the lavatories and the rear galley in an actual 747 are located. It seems this cafe uses the back as a rest area or lounge for their employees. So that's how it looks like without those lavatories. Meanwhile, standing at the back looks like it's gonna be a long stretch going to the front. But my next agenda is to walk on this plane's wing. Yup, you heard it right. Visitors can go outside to get some fresh air or take more selfies, as the wing serves as a terrace, offering more possible angles for your photos. And that's where we're going. Now, never had I dreamed of walking on top of a plane's wing, but it's happening today. Surprisingly, there's even a tuk-tuk here, where you can have your photos taken with the plane's tail fin as your backdrop. Cool, huh? Nice to see this aboard the world's largest airplane eatery. Yeah, you can bring your drinks here if you prefer to have it under the open air. Smoking ain't allowed here though. Anyway, the view here is enough to keep you distracted from doing so. By the way, I was told that the 747 Cafe is open until about 7 p.m, where the area underneath sort of becomes a bar or nightclub. I never stayed that long to check, but I think my stay here for about 2 hours is already long enough to enjoy just having some milk tea. Yeah, you're allowed to toy around with the door mechanisms. It's part of the experience. Anyway, back to the main cabin. Seems like I'm the only one here, but it can get filled up by tourists later in the afternoon, so I gotta start using my so-called boarding pass to redeem my drink. Prices for drinks range from 120 to 170 bahts. Same with other items like baked goods and so forth. And since it's hot outside, having some of these smoothies would be perfect. So here's a bit of my downtime while I settle and absorb my stay here, sipping a glass of ice-cold fruit soda before going back to the upper level to check the flight deck one last time before I go.
Yay! Finally, we're here at the 747 Cafe in Lat Krabang, and I'm still overwhelmed and still it's an exhilarating experience just to be here. If you guys want to come here, you just take any train in the city in Bangkok and then get yourself to Lat Krabang station. It's one of the stations in the airport link going to Suvarnabhumi. And then from there, when you get down the station, you can grab a cab or probably he'll grab service. And then it's gonna cost you about 80 bahts or less, give or take 80 bahts. And then find yourself here. So from the moment you step somewhere near the gate or something, and when you see the 747, it's a 747 or 400 anyway. It's an exhilarating experience, especially for aviation lovers. So I'm still breathless seeing this and getting to sit here. So thank you guys for watching my vlog, and then I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.